Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling atomic habits. We got a ton of summaries and excerpts from you all, so we're diving deep to help you guys get the most out of them. I'm excited. When I first heard atomic habits, it just clicked. Such a perfect image for how those tiny changes can make a huge difference.
That's a great way to put it.
And that's what we're going to explore today. Not just what habits are, but why they matter.
Yeah,
And how to use them to make real, lasting changes.
absolutely. And I think Atomic Habits does a fantastic job of making this topic both insightful and actionable, breaking it down for everybody.
For sure. One of the things that really hooked me was James Clear's personal story. I mean, that baseball bat accident, what a story. Just incredible what he was able to overcome.
You know what's interesting about that is sometimes people are skeptical of self-help type advice.
Right.
Because it can feel theoretical or abstract. But when you have a story, like what Clear went through, it makes it so relatable.
Totally.
Yep.
If you can rebuild his life literally piece by piece after that accident,
Yep.
it shows the power of small wins.
Yeah. It makes you think like, okay, well, if he can do that, maybe I can apply these same principles and make some positive changes
Yeah,
in my own life.
exactly. Like, it's not about this overnight transformation or anything. It's about taking those little steps
Yeah.
day after day.
Right.
And suddenly they add up to something remarkable.
Yeah. And that really is the core idea of the book, that habits are the compound interest of
Yeah.
self-improvement.
It's such a powerful concept. Like, you're making these small deposits
Yeah.
day after day, and eventually it builds up this incredible momentum.
It's that snowball effect.
Exactly. It's like investing, but in yourself.
Have you ever looked back on something you've achieved and realized, wow, I got there by taking all these little steps consistently over time?
All the time. It's so easy to want those instant results.
Yeah.
But Atomic Habits really highlights the power of playing the long game.
Yeah. Consistency over intensity.
Right.
Oh.
Now, here's where he kind of flips the script.
Okay.
He says, forget goals, focus on systems. I'll admit, this threw me off at first. Aren't goals important?
Well, they are, but they're more like the desired outcome. It's the system that you build that actually drives the success.
Okay, I'm starting to see it. So, like, the goal might be to write a book,
Right.
but the system is making time to write every day.
Exactly. Or it could be setting up your writing space, or even just having a process for coming up with ideas.
So it's the system that actually moves you towards the goal.
Exactly. The system is the engine. The goal is the destination.
This is so interesting. Okay, so everyone listening, ask yourself, what systems do you have in your life?
Are they helping you?
Or are they holding you back?
Because that really leads us to another key concept from Atomic Habits, the 3 levels of change.
Oh yeah, tell me more about this.
Okay, so Clear talks about outcome change, process change, and identity change. And the biggest takeaway here is that the deepest level of change comes from shifting your identity, not just your actions.
Okay, so it's not just about wanting to lose weight.
Right.
It's about seeing yourself as a healthy person.
Exactly. It's that shift in mindset from I'm trying to I am.
I love this. Do you remember any examples from the book?
One that comes to mind is the goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader.
It's subtle, but so powerful.
Right. It's not about just checking things off a to-do list.
It's about embodying those qualities you want to cultivate.
Exactly.
Okay, so think about a time when you tried to change a habit,
Were you focused on the outcome?
or were you trying to become a different type of person?
It makes a big difference.
It really does. And that actually leads perfectly into the 4 laws of behavior change,
Which Clear presents as like the foundation.
of building any habit.
Ooh.
Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
I love how practical these laws are.
Me too. It's like a framework for tackling any habit challenge.
It is. Like, how often do we get stuck wanting to change something? But we don't know where to start.
Ugh, all the time.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. Where do we begin?
Well, let's start with the first law. Make it obvious.
Okay, make it obvious.
Because this is really the foundation of any new habit. It's all about bringing awareness to your current behaviors, both good and bad.
It's funny because we often go through our days on autopilot, and we don't even realize the choices we're making.
We do.
I'm totally guilty of this, like mindlessly scrolling on my phone or grabbing a sugary snack when I'm stressed.
We've all been there. And that's why Clear suggests this tool called the Habits Scorecard.
Habit scorecard, what's that?
It's basically an inventory of your daily routines. where you write down your habits and categorize them as good, bad, or
Oh,
neutral.
that's so smart. So you can see what's actually happening.
Exactly. It helps you identify those hidden patterns.
And those patterns really shape our lives, don't they?
They do. But once you've identified them, you can start to use the other laws to change them. For example, another tactic Clear suggests is using implementation intentions.
Implementation
Yes,
intentions.
this is where you get very specific about when and where you will perform a particular habit.
So it's not enough to just say, I'm going to exercise more.
Right? You need a plan.
I will go for a run at 7 a.m. in the park.
Precisely. You
Yeah.
remove the ambiguity and make it much more likely that you'll actually follow through.
That's so smart.
And it takes away that decision fatigue.
Right, because you've already made the decision. Now you just do it.
Exactly.
You know what else is really helpful for making things obvious?
What's that?
Habit stacking.
Oh, yes, habit stack.
I love this one. It's like building this chain reaction of positive behavior.
Exactly. You're linking a new habit to an existing one. So, for instance, you could say, after I make my morning coffee, I will meditate for 5 minutes.
Yes. And that makes it so much more likely that you'll stick with the new behavior because it's already part of your routine.
Absolutely.
It's like you're creating this momentum of positive change, one habit leading to the next,
And that momentum can be incredibly powerful.
especially in those early stages of habit formation.
It is.
So by making things obvious, we're essentially setting ourselves up for success.
Mm.
We're removing those barriers, those obstacles that make it so easy to fall back into those old patterns.
Exactly. It's about making the good habits easier and the bad habits harder.
I love that. And that brings us to the second law. Make it attractive.
Make it attractive. This one's all about motivation and desire.
Because sometimes those good habits just don't seem that appealing.
Right. We know we should eat our vegetables, but that chocolate cake is calling our name.
Tell me about it. So how do we make those good habits more enticing?
Well, one strategy Clear suggests is temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling, what is that?
It's linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's like buttering the spinach.
Exactly.
You could only allow yourself to watch your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
Exactly. Or you could listen to your favorite podcast while you're cleaning the house.
I love that. You're basically rewarding yourself for doing the thing you need to do.
Right. You're tapping into that dopamine-driven reward system.
It's like hacking your own brain.
It is, and it works surprisingly well.
It really does. You know, I've tried it myself, and it makes such a difference.
It's amazing how much our brains respond to those little rewards.
It really is. And speaking of influence, Clear also talks about the power of social environment.
Oh, this is a big one. He talks about the importance of joining a culture where your desired behavior is the norm.
It's true. If all your friends are really into fitness, you're way more likely to start working out too.
Right. It becomes part of your identity, part of your social group.
Exactly. So it feels less like a chore and more like just part of who you are.
Exactly. It's about finding your tribe and surrounding yourself with people who support your goals.
I love that. It's like you're choosing your team and you want to be on the team. That's playing the game you want to play.
It makes the process so much more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered make it obvious. We've covered make it attractive.
What about make it easy?
Make it easy. I'm guessing this is all about simplifying things.
You got it. It's about reducing friction and effort.
Because let's be real. We often get discouraged when we try to do too much too soon.
We do.
It's like, I'm going to work out every day for an hour.
And then you burn out after 3 days.
Exactly. That's why I love Clear's 2-minute rule.
Oh, yes. The 2-minute rule is a game changer.
It is. It's about breaking down those habits
Yeah.
into tiny, manageable steps.
So instead of running for an hour, you just put on your running shoes and walk around the block.
It's brilliant.
It's about building momentum, one small step at a time.
And you know what? Oftentimes, that small step is all it takes to get started.
It's like the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. And by making it easy, we're lowering the barrier to entry for those good habits.
It's about setting ourselves up for success, not failure.
Okay, so we've got make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy.
Now for the grand finale, make it satisfying.
Ah, yes. Make it satisfying.
Yeah.
This is all about making those good habits feel rewarding in the moment.
Because delayed gratification can be tough.
Oh, tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
We want those results, and we want them now.
Mm.
So how do we make those good habits feel good while we're doing them?
Well, one really effective strategy is habit tracking.
Habit tracking.
Yeah. It's about visually seeing your progress. Like having a scoreboard for your good habits.
I love that visual element. It makes it feel real.
It does, and it can give you that sense of accomplishment.
It's like you're turning your progress into something tangible.
Exactly. And speaking of tangible rewards, Clear also talks about the importance of celebrating your wins.
Oh, yes. No matter how small those wins may be.
It could be something as simple as a cup of tea after a productive work session, or a massage after a week of consistent exercise.
You know what? I am a firm believer in celebrating those small wins.
Me too.
It keeps you motivated and reinforces those positive changes you're making.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back
I
and
want-
saying, hey, good job, keep going.
Exactly. And ultimately, that's the goal, to create this positive feedback loop where the good habit itself becomes its own reward.
That's the sweet spot, when the habit becomes part of who you are.
Well, we've covered so much already.
I know it's been a whirlwind, but we've only just scratched the surface of what Atomic Habits has to offer.
I know, right? I feel like we could talk about this for hours.
We probably could. But for now, we'll have to take a short break. When we come back, we'll dive even deeper into Atomic Habits and explore more strategies for building better habits and achieving lasting change.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Atomic Habits. Before the break, we were talking about those 4 laws of behavior change and how you can use them to make those positive changes.
So seriously, like this awesome toolkit
Mm.
for building better habits.
Yeah.
But are there any other strategies or insights that really stood out to you?
Oh, for sure. One that comes to mind is this idea of the plateau of latent potential.
Ooh, the plateau of latent potential. I love the sound of that. What's that all about?
So it's this concept that we often get discouraged when we don't see immediate results.
Ugh. Yes, like you're putting in the work, but you're not seeing anything happening.
Exactly. We feel like we're spinning our wheels. But what Clear explains is that there's this period where we're actually building momentum, making those tiny changes, but they're invisible.
I see what you mean. It's like those first few weeks of working out, you might not see a huge difference in the mirror, but something's definitely happening.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed. You don't see the sprout right away, but that doesn't mean it's not growing underground.
So it's like, trust the process.
Exactly. It's about having faith that those small, consistent efforts will pay off eventually, even if you can't see it yet.
It's so encouraging, especially in this world of instant gratification. It's a good reminder that real change takes time.
Absolutely. And it kind of reminds me of another idea from the book, the aggregation of marginal gains.
Okay, break that down for me.
Basically, it's this idea that small improvements, when compounded over time, lead to huge results.
It's like instead of trying to change everything at once, you just focus on making tiny tweaks.
Right, and it's those little tweaks that add up to create something really amazing.
Clear actually uses a great example to illustrate this. Do you remember the one with the British cycling team?
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. They basically just made these tiny adjustments to
Yeah.
everything. Their bikes, their training regimen, even the pillows they slept on.
Seriously.
Yeah, and all those marginal gains added up to help them dominate the sport.
So the lesson here is, you don't have to be perfect. Just focus on those 1% improvements day after day.
It's about getting a little bit better each day. And that leads us to another important point, which is focusing on your strengths.
Oh, this is huge.
It is.
Go ahead.
Clear talks about the explore-exploit trade-off. And it's all about figuring out your natural talents and building habits that actually leverage those strengths.
It's like playing a game that's designed for you to win.
Exactly, because so many of us get caught up trying to be good at everything. We end up spreading ourselves too thin.
So true. So how do we figure out where our strengths lie? What did Clear suggest?
Well, one thing he recommends is to pay attention to what you enjoy doing. What are you naturally drawn to?
It's like noticing what feels effortless. The things you do without even thinking.
Right. And once you have a better sense of your strengths, you can start building habits that support them.
It's like creating this system that actually works for you, not against you.
And once you've chosen your playing field, so to speak, then it's all about finding the right level of challenge to keep you motivated.
Ah, yes. This is where the Goldilocks rule comes in. Not too hard, not too easy, just right.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing yourself just enough to grow, but not so much that you get overwhelmed.
It's like finding that balance between comfort and growth.
Exactly. And one way to find that balance is to break down your goals into smaller steps. It's about progress, not perfection.
Like going back to the 2-minute rule. Starting small, building momentum, and gradually increasing the difficulty.
It's like building those muscles, one rep at a time.
And it's important to remember, habits aren't set in stone.
That's so true. They can evolve and change just like we do.
So it's about being flexible and adaptable and finding what works for you.
Experimentation is key. Trying different things, seeing what sticks.
And of course, there will be setbacks. That's just part of the process.
It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent.
So true. And having that self-compassion to know that it's okay to slip up sometimes.
Absolutely. It's about getting back on track as quickly as possible.
And learning from those mistakes so we can do better next time.
Exactly. It's all part of the journey.
I'm feeling really inspired. We've talked about small changes, systems, strengths, setbacks. There's so much to unpack here.
I know, right? But we're not done yet. There are still a few more gems from Atomic Habits that we want to share with you.
This has been such a great conversation. I can't wait to see what else we uncover. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. As we're wrapping up our exploration of Atomic Habits, I'm struck by how James Clear really challenges conventional wisdom, while still offering really practical advice.
He really does. He manages to blend those profound insights with really actionable strategies.
It's awesome. And one of the things he flips on its head is this idea of talent versus habit.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to think that success is all about natural ability.
Right. You're either born with it or you're not.
But Clear really makes a case for the power of cultivated habits. Even if you don't have that natural talent.
He's saying it's not about talent being this fixed thing. It's about deliberate practice and consistent effort.
It's like that saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
I love that quote.
Me too.
Yeah.
But it's not just about working hard. It's about working smart.
Right. Exactly. And that's where Clear's concept of the explore-exploit trade-off comes in. It's about figuring out your natural abilities and then building habits that really leverage those strengths.
It's like finding your sweet spot and playing a game that you're naturally good at.
That's a great way to put it. Those athletes who find that perfect sport, that just aligns with their natural abilities and they just excel.
It's amazing to watch. But what's interesting? Clear doesn't just say, find your strength and stick with it.
Right.
He acknowledges that sometimes. We have to explore different options to figure out where our talents truly lie.
It's about being curious, trying new things, and being open to adjusting course.
So it's not just about finding your passion. It's about finding the right expression for that passion.
The right arena for your unique skills.
I love that. And once you've found that arena, then it's about building those systems and habits that support your success.
It's about creating an environment where you can thrive.
It reminds me of that quote by Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit.
So true. It means that our habits shape who we are and who we become.
Which is why it's so important to be mindful of the habits we're building.
Right. Are they aligned with the person we want to be?
It's like we're sculpting ourselves, one habit at a time.
And that's where those 4 laws of behavior change come in.
They're the tools that help us shape those habits, make them stick. It's kind of amazing how much power we have to change our own lives just by making small changes to our daily routines.
It is. And I think one of the best things about Clear's approach is that he doesn't sugarcoat it.
Right.
He acknowledges that there will be setbacks. There will be days when you fall short.
It's inevitable. But the key is to get back on track as quickly as possible.
And to be kind to yourself. Slip-ups happen. It's part of the process.
It's about having that self-compassion and realizing that we're all human.
It is. And it's kind of like that saying, fall 7 times, stand up 8.
That's a good one. It's about developing that resilience.
So you can bounce back from those challenges and keep moving forward.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we cultivate that resilience?
Well, part of it is finding joy in the process, focusing on the small wins, celebrating those milestones.
So it's not just about the destination. It's about enjoying the journey.
Exactly. And remember the Goldilocks rule, finding that sweet spot of challenge.
That's so important. Because if it's too easy, we get bored.
And if it's too hard, we get discouraged.
But if we find that balance, we're way more likely to stick with it.
It's about finding that flow state where you're so engaged you lose track of time.
I love when that happens.
And to keep that flow going, Clear suggests constantly seeking new challenges.
It's about lifelong learning and continuous improvement.
Embracing a growth mindset.
This has been an incredible deep dive into atomic habits.
It really has. We've learned so much about the power of small changes, the importance of systems, the art of finding your strengths, and even the beauty of embracing setbacks.
I know, I feel like I have a whole new perspective on habit formation, and I'm really inspired to start making some changes.
Me too. And hopefully our listeners feel the same way.
So if you're listening, we encourage you to take what you've learned today and apply it to your own life. What's one small change you can make today to start building momentum towards those goals?
Remember, even tiny actions, when done consistently, can lead to incredible results.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into atomic habits. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building those atomic habits.